Now, whenever you're using Firebase authentication, you can actually subscribe to the authentication changes. What that means is that whenever the authentication state change, like logged in or logged out, are you signed in, are you not signed in, you can listen to those changes. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to incident list page, which is also responsible for displaying the menu, which is right here. And right at the top somewhere over here in the init state, we can go ahead and call a function, our own function, which we will implement, and we will call it subscribe to Firebase auth changes. This is our own function, so we will implement it in a moment. And there we go. So let's implement this. So I'm just going to type the name out or copy the name. And the reason that we are doing that is that whenever the person logs out, then the menu can change. And we can send even the user to a different page if they want to. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. So subscribe to Firebase authentication changes. We are going to go ahead and say Firebase auth dot instance dot auth state changes, and then we can listen to it. So listen, and when you listen, you get an event, and that is usually the user object that you're going to get. And over here, you can do something. So if the user is equals to null, so basically this means that the person has already signed out, then we can set this property that we have already declared in the starter project. We can say that the user is actually signed out. So we can say set state underscore is signed in equals to false. So the user is not signed in. The other case will be the else case. So else, we will go ahead and say set state again. And the reason that we are doing this inside the set state is that we want the view to render again so that we can show and hide the menu. So signed in equals to true. All right. And that is pretty much it. Now we can actually go scroll down to the actual menu. And based on the value of signed in or not signed in, we can show and hide the things. So let's talk about this part for my incidents. My incidents should only be displayed if the person is actually signed in. So we can go ahead and put a condition over here. We can say underscore is signed in. If the person is signed in, then go ahead and display the list tile. Let's go ahead and see where the list tile actually ends, right there. And if the person is not signed in, then we will just display nothing. So sizebox.shrink. Let's go ahead and save it. Right now, you can see that the value is signed in is actually not true. So that is why it is not showing my incidents. And we can use the same exact approach every single place. Right over here, when adding an incident, in order to add an incident, you have to be signed in. So I'm going to just say is signed in, then go ahead and display it, or else go ahead and display a sizebox.shrink, which basically means don't display anything. Now let's move to the login part, which is similar but a little bit different. For login, you want to display the login if the user is not signed in. So we can say not signed in, then display the login, else just display nothing, which is basically sizebox.shrink. And registration is the same case. If the person is signed in, if the person is not signed in, then go ahead and display this, or else go ahead and display a sizebox.shrink. All right. So this is great. The other thing that we need to do is for the logout. So here is the logout, and we do have to do the same thing with logout. So let's first make sure that we implement the code for logout. So let's go ahead and say log out the user. And when the person clicks on the logout, we are going to say await Firebase auth Firebase.instance.signout. Now, whenever this sign out happens, the subscription, this portion is going to get called. Firebase auth changes because now the authentication has changed. When you were signed in, you clicked on the sign out, logged out. Now you're logged out. So that state had actually changed. The other thing we have to do is the same thing. The logout should only be available to click if the person is not signed in. So make sure you put the not there, right over there. And else we will simply go ahead and display a size box.shrink. Okay, let's go ahead and do a hard reset and check out our menu items. You can already see that there are less menu item being displayed. And I think for the logout, you do have to say when the person is actually signed in. So we're going to remove the not sign and logout button is back. So now the person is actually logged in and you can see menu options like home, my incidents, add incident, and logout. Let's go ahead and click on logout. As soon as I click on logout, I'm logged out and now I'm looking at different options. Home, login, register. I'm not looking at add an incident, my incident, because I'm logged out. Let's go ahead and log in again. So I'm going to go ahead and try to log in. And for password, authentication state changes. And now you can look, we have a different menu. All right. So this is pretty cool that we are able to do that. The other thing that I really want to do is I want to make sure that when I'm actually logged in, I should go to my incidents page. I think that's a good way to handle it. That's a good way to go to the my incidents page. So let's go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that in our app navigator, we have a way to go to my incidents, which I don't see it. Don't worry, we can simply go ahead and add the code to go to my incidents. So let's go ahead and you can see it's the same exact code. You simply call the navigate to my incidents, pass in the context, and it simply performs a navigation.push, and you're done. So this means that now I can go back to my incidents page, which is incident list page. And once I'm in incident list page and the user is logged in, then I will simply ask the app navigator to perform a navigation to my incidents page, passing in the context. This means that when the person actually logs in, the person will be taken to the My Incidents page. And that is pretty much it. I think we have covered a lot in this particular section. You learn how to create, how to integrate Firebase storage authentication for your CityCare application. You learn how to use the camera as well as the photo library to upload the pictures, to capture the authentication state using subscription to the Firebase authentication. So that's a lot of stuff that we have just covered in this section. Now make sure that you download the final code which is attached with this particular lecture. So download the code and enjoy the code. Thank you so much, and I really hope that you have enjoyed this section, this cool, amazing app. Thank you.